Welcome to this epidural lesson. We are going to go through the functions and the operations of the epidural for use within CCAST. Now, obviously, this is just a normal perfuser, but it's yellow. So you've been through the perfuser lesson, so we're not going to go into the 373 that's the same as the perfuser, but we will go through some specific differences that we need to look at. You'll also remember that this is not part of the CCAST module. This isn't in the 575. It's part of the PASA module. So if you need, if you're picking up a patient that you're expecting to put an epidural on, then you'll need to lift this with the consumables from the PASA module. So we've performed the 373 in the same way that we have for the perfuser. So you've done your physical checks and you've opened up the drive arm by switching on the pump. The first check we're going to confirm in the same way as the perfuser is we're going to confirm that it recognises that you need to do a syringe change. So open the drive arm, the syringe arm holder, and it will recognise on the screen that a syringe change is occurring. Replace the holder and it will take you back to that main function screen. Press the C button, the cancel button, to take you through to the first menu, which offers you the drug library. And this is where the main difference between the perfuser and the epidural is. We need to confirm that the correct drugs are in the drug library. There are 4 drugs in the drug library, and you need to confirm that these are correct. The first is bupivacaine 0.125%. The second is bupivacaine 75 milligrams and fentanyl 120 micrograms. The third is levobupivacaine 0.125%, and the final one is ropivacaine 0.2%. You can select any one of these drugs to continue with your check by pressing the arrow facing in towards the screen. From here, because you're already using the drug library, you can scroll straight down to the options menu, press the arrow facing in towards the screen, and we need to confirm that the options are set up correctly. Once you've entered the options menu, you need to confirm the following. The first is that the pressure is set at 5. Next is our data lock function, which is different from our perfuser, but similar to our PCA. We now have a data lock function which enables us to lock the pump from any changes. And if we were using the perfuser, we would have to set a level 2 data lock, which enables us to start and stop the pump and go through our menus, but doesn't enable any changes to the infusion. Next, we have our bolus rate, which is set here at 600 mL an hour, and that's the standard setting for the epidurals. You'll also note here that KVO mode is enabled. Now, this is a software issue. You will find different pumps in the hanger with various modes set that are unnecessary. KVO mode is not required on any of the perfusers, but it will make no difference to the infusion so long as KVO mode is off. What we would recommend is that you return this to MDSS and ask them to update the software. Next, we have our contrast display, keypad, alarm volume. They should all be set at 9 to give you the maximum visibility of the pump and sound. Next, we have our date, which should obviously be set at the date that you're checking the pump for the 373. And then we have our time, which should be set in Zulu. The final option is a macro mode, and all this does is make the numbers larger than the text. And at the bottom, we move to the top of the pump. So to complete the 373, press the C button to return to the main menu, and then switch off the pump by pressing and holding the off button and confirming that the drive arm returns to its park position. That is the end of the 373. Place this back on charge, and next we're going to talk about how to use it practically. So, practical use of the epidural. So current SOPs and general practice is that if the patient requires an epidural for pain relief in flight, then we should also always have a PCA connected just in case we have any failures in the epidural. Just enables the patient to give themselves some personal analgesia as required. So we've obviously run through our 373 and we're going to get the pump on and ready to go. And it will obviously run through its self-test and the drive arm will open. Check your medication with a colleague. This one we're going to be using is the bupivacaine 0.125%. Allow the drive arm to open and fit your syringe in. It should recognise that a syringe is attached, and usually the first option is the syringe that you're using, but you may need to scroll through the menu to find the correct syringe. Once you've found the correct syringe, press the arrow facing in towards the screen and the drive arm will close against the syringe arm. Once the syringe arm has gripped your syringe, it will give you an option to go into the drug library. Just select yes for entering the drug library, and in here you'll notice that bupivacaine 0.125% is the first option. Press the arrow facing in towards the screen and it is going to ask you, in the same way as the PCA does, to confirm that this is definitely the drug that you want to use. So just make sure you confirm using this screen that you definitely want to use bupivacaine 0.125%. Press the arrow facing in towards the screen again and it now takes you through to the setup menu. From here you can see that it's slightly different to the perfuser because we've selected a drug. This first part here is reminding you of the concentration of that medication. Next we have our rate. To select a rate, press the arrow facing in towards the screen, and for this epidural we're going to run it at 8 mils an hour, so just select your infusion rate, and once you've selected your infusion rate, press OK. It'll take you back to the menu where we would recommend filling in the rest of the information, such as the volume to be infused. Obviously this one is at 50. And then you'll see that all of the information you require is set up and ready to go. And then we'll move down to our special functions. What we would recommend is that you set the data lock now so that it doesn't get forgotten. So we'll go down to our options, press the arrow facing inwards and move down to our data lock. We're going to select data lock number 2, and as I said before, this enables you to stop and start the pump but not make any changes to the rate. The codes for these are 1, 2, 3, 4. And you've got 20 seconds to press start on your infusion before that lock starts. So if we press start from the main menu, our infusion's running. You know that the data lock is set because you can see the little key next to your rate, which will prevent you from changing the rate whilst it's running. So now that the infusion is running, we need to be aware of navigating that data lock function in order to administer a bolus or change a rate. Bearing in mind this is exactly the same as the perfuser, so you can administer a bolus using the manual function, a preset bolus, or using a calculated rate. For this we're going to use the manual bolus because it's just the quickest way of administering the bolus to the patient. So to do that, we're going to press bolus, and it prompts us to put in the code for the data lock. So we remember it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And this will unlock the pump for a period of time. So from this bolus function, we're going to press and hold OK to administer our bolus. Now you'll note that we can only do this for 20 seconds, and it will automatically pause at 1.6, which is obviously a very small amount for an epidural bolus. So the manual bolus function will give us about 1.6 mils running at the 600 ml an hour bolus rate. So you may choose to administer a preset amount instead. To do that, press the bolus function. Again, put in that code because we've gone over our 20 seconds. Ooh, gone over. So to set our preset amount, we're going to press the arrow facing in towards the screen, and we're going to select the bolus that we would like to give. So let's say we're delivering a 5 mil bolus, and we're going to press the bolus button to administer that 5 mils. What we need to remember as the safety feature for this is that boluses should only be administered by a member of the medical team. And also, if you're using particularly the manual bolus function, there's nothing to prevent you from giving repeated boluses. So there's no safety feature within this to prevent that repeated bolus administration. So people just need to be aware that although there are safety features in the epidural, it's not perfect. To remind yourself of the maximum rates that you can run, if during your 373 you can try this out, just increase the rate up to 20 mils an hour and it comes up with this dose guard alarm, which I'll just show you again there. And it will not allow you to put in infusion rates of greater than that number. Other important numbers will be visible on the screen now. The alarms on the epidural are exactly the same as the perfuser, so I'd recommend that you, if you need revision, to re-watch that video, but there will also be a picture on the screen of the alarms just to remind yourself. That's the end of the epidural lesson. If you'd like any further information, then just please review the DLE or contact one of the CCAST training instructors.